All right. Are
Yeah,
you ready to watch the Crazies again?
the Crazies 2.
No, the Crazies 7. We've already moved past the
Oh.
first six.
I'm ready.
In three, two, one. Forgot to hit the recording button.
Damn
In
it.
three, two, one, go.
Oh, good. Overture Films? Alright. The Stars Company. They follow
Stars.
me everywhere.
Somebody's watching me.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's one that's kind of lumped into, like that Platinum Dunes era of remakes, even though it's not actually a Platinum Dunes movie. This mini little prologue I don't need. Uh it's very brief. It's just everything on fire. It's kind of a nod to the first movie's opening, the house on fire, and then 2 days earlier, because we can't stop doing that in modern horror movies. Just a nitpick, but I don't need it. So, what is your history with this movie? What is this the first of the Crazies movie you see?
Yes, I saw a trailer for it, and I was full on in the midst of my like zombie obsession. And I see this in theaters. And I was like, that was really good.
But they're not zombies; they're infected.
They are, but I didn't draw that line in the sand until I was older.
And hello, Danielle Panabaker. I did not know she was in this movie when I first watched it.
Yeah, I kind of wish she was in more of these. I think she's pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of a small, thankless role, which is weird because this is after the Friday remake where she does have a much bigger role and she's like our fake out final girl of that movie. Here, she's just lady.
Oh, she gets a pretty decent role though.
Yeah, I mean, she's in a good bit of it. But this sequence, I guess the second prologue, I think we could have spent a little more time on. I like a good build up, but I do like how in this we do, because this was all over the marketing, all over those trailers. I do really like the way we introduce our first crazy person, uh, with
Yes.
Timothy Olyphant's character. Like that, I do like the scene a lot.
And I want to say that somebody in this scene is from the original.
I think that comes later because there
Okay.
is a cameo.
No, and I mean the best thing this movie did was cast Timothy Olyphant. He's perfect in
He's
this
great.
role. I don't want to drop more bad news, but it looks like John's audio stops working. Oh fuck.
Yeah, we'll look at that later.
I'll look at it
That's
later.
unfortunate.
It's fine. I think I figured out why you would have been able to hear me and they couldn't. It was set to two different audio sources for some reason.
Yeah, damn. It's been a while since we ran into that issue. But thank you, Jareth. So at least this one will be fine.
Have you ever watched? I know I've asked you about this before, but you know me, I don't remember shit. You haven't watched Santa Clarita Diet yet, have you?
No, I've never seen that.
That show's so good. I'm still mad about it, okay? But Timothy
Dig it.
Olyphant is one of the leads. And the whole
Gotcha.
premise of that show is his wife, Drew Barrymore, becomes a zombie. But she's like a
Oh,
functioning zombie. and it's them trying to keep their high class suburban lifestyle while also trying to keep her fed.
That's fun. I mean, so that could be allegorical of a bunch of stuff, like a
Mhm.
functioning alcoholic, kind of however you want to look at it. This scene's really good. I mixed on this drone POV we cut to a few
That is
times
very
in the movie.
2010.
It is. It's so weird having lived through that era, now experiencing what just movies were like, so you didn't think about it or question it, and now you're like, oh my god, that's so 2010s. That was 14 years ago.
Shut up!
There's a
No, it
lot of
wasn't.
yeah, there's just like a lot of tropes and choices with like the font and sound effects, especially sound effects.
I don't know if you had this, but for the font, I was getting hard Bay Transformers.
Yes, I was thinking that too with like the drone stuff. I was like, why is and wait, was that Timothy Oliphant? No, that was Josh Duhamel. His secret
They
twin
look
brother.
alike. They look alike. I'll give you that. But this is one of those where it kind of takes a very unconventional film, like Dawn of the Dead or the original The Crazies, and makes it a more conventional
More
narrative.
cohesive narrative, yeah. Which for me, I actually think mostly works in this movie. I do like it. Again, it's
Yeah,
kind of interesting because it's not one of the beloved ones, but it's not one of the hated ones
well,
from
that's
this
what I'm
era
saying. Is I
either.
feel like this
It's
kind
in the
of
middle.
just came and went. Nobody talks about this when they talk about the like 2000s remakes.
Hmm. But if you were there when it happened, you remember it because, like you said, I mean, the marketing felt like it was just every like I wasn't into horror at all at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen this trailer a million times,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally went, oh, it's that movie. Okay, like that poster. We talked about that in the previous commentary with the pitchfork, like the
I
poster
had
for
this
this movie
on
was like
DVD
everywhere.
with that poster.
And not to criticize it, but it feels very Saw, right? Like very influenced by
Mm-hmm.
kind of that trend and what was popular at the time. Because that doesn't, it's a good poster, but it doesn't really convey what this movie's about.
No, but I also don't know what poster you make for this movie.
Right.
And to its credit, it keeps the small town thing. Like I never feel like we're
Yeah.
in a big metropolis.
No, that's one thing I like better about this than the original is you really do get to know the people more,
Mhm.
and we are more focused on just the town. We aren't jumping different perspectives as much.
That's what I like more about this is I don't care about the government bickering in the original because you're just preaching at me. Look how stupid these people are. It's not, oh, this is funny because they're stupid or oh, this is sad.
Yeah.
It's just people bickering at each other.
Yeah, well, I think that stuff worked for me though, just because it feels so matter of fact and blunt. Like again, to me, it didn't feel preachy. It was just like, yeah, this is probably how this would go down.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't disagree, but I think you can do that, but also be like it feel preachy because just like Romero is just telling me how he sees this, not showing me something and letting me make up my own mind about it, or making me
Yeah,
laugh
this
because of how stupid and over the top it is. Like I think it needed to
this
be more like Dawn of the Dead, where it's like this is horrifying, but it's also kind of funny just how incompetent everyone involved is.
yeah, and Dawn of the Dead is the better movie, but I don't know. Again, that's kind of what I like about the Crazies is just that bluntness, and
Mm-hmm.
he's going for something a bit more realistic. But with this movie though, it's trying to do both. It's trying to be a more, like you said, palatable, consumer friendly little horror movie with some thrills, but it's also sneaking in some of that Romero commentary that I think does mostly work.
That's fair. I will definitely watch it for a third time. I think it helped that you were more into it because I've only watched this with people, and the guy that I showed it to before was not into it, and that definitely affects my viewing of a film. Like I showed a friend
Yeah, for
Friday the
sure.
13th for an example. I showed a friend Friday the 13th Part 4. They weren't liking it, and I was having the worst viewing I've ever had. I was like, "Oh, this movie is kind of
Yep.
boring." And
No,
then I watched it on my own. I was like, "What the fuck was I talking about? This movie's awesome."
I think though my biggest nitpick with this movie that I could see me coming around on repeat viewings or becoming less of an issue is I do like more of a build up. I love the mystery with the guy he shot and what's going on. Was he drunk or what's going on with him? I like this stuff, but I do wish we spent more time with these small town characters before shit hits the fan. Because there's a lot of characters who pop up throughout this movie where I'm like, wait, who are you? Have I seen you before? I'm not sure, but I could see myself warming up to that on repeat viewing where I'm like, oh, it's that guy, and that's where he goes. Okay, cool. But that it does also lead to a few genuine problems I have with this movie where I could have used a little more build up. I would have liked to have known a couple of these side characters a bit better.
Jared, so I have to watch the Dead movies in order? No.
Yeah, I say no. Just watch the one that sounds most appealing to you. But
That we
also,
call them a trilogy, but I mean, it's a trilogy in the way that like the Apocalypse trilogy is a trilogy. It's really just three zombie movies that he made with the naming scheme.
correct.
Um,
The main through line you get is the original is about the outbreak. Like it starts. Second one, Dawn, we're in the middle of it, and then by the third one, Day, we are years into it, and
Now, I
everything's
will
completely
say
falling apart.
one thing
But
that
it's kind
you
of the through
do
line.
get that I have always found if I watch them in order, you do get a bigger build up of the idea of the zombies are just us.
Yes, they're us. They're the more they're the more honest primal versions of us. Yeah, they just want to eat, man.
Yeah, because that
It's
doesn't
more
just
American than
start
that.
in like day or dawn. No, that's there from the beginning.
Hmm.
Oh my god.
This shot's cool. This part's a little disappointing because you're like, oh man, this is gonna be a really big death, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have a lot of memorable kills, but it does pull off the tension and some of the action sequences pretty well. But also, Jareth, with the Night of the Living Dead movies, just stick with the original trilogy and then move from there. They're also short movies, so I mean, it's not a long commitment. But I mean, if,
Mm.
if Dawn sounds more appealing to you than the first one, I mean, I saw Dawn. But Dawn was the first one I ever watched. I didn't watch them in order. But the sequence is pretty good though, and it is kind of an homage to the opening sequence of the first one, with the
Mhm.
farmhouse and the family getting taken out by the father going crazy, but does something different with it.
You know what's crazy? I just had this thought. This came out the same year as A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010.
Yep, sure did.
At least one of these is watchable.
Lady, listen to your son. He's trying to save your life.
For long, he says for the longest time I didn't realize they were connected. Yeah, I mean
Very,
they're
not very
connected in the
longest.
loosest possible,
There are
thematically at
no
best.
returning characters. Yeah,
Much to my disappointment as a kid.
yeah. Yeah. Do you
As
prefer?
a kid, as a kid, I've accepted it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
No, as a kid, when I finally got to watch Day of the Dead, I was pissed that they didn't tell me what the fuck happened to cop guy and girl.
Peter.
Yeah,
Is it Fran? Is the other lady Fran?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm conflicted about that because it would have been really cool if they came back, but it also is nice that each one's so standalone. My only issue with Day is there's just a little too much repeating where it's another group with a helicopter, and it ends in kind of the same place. That it's like, yeah, that's one of my nitpicks with Day. Is it feels like a really nihilistic movie that also maybe doesn't go far enough with what it's trying to say.
I don't care, man. That is
But
Tom Savini's masterpiece, and it makes me cringe every time in the best possible way.
it's great. Everything with Bub the
The
zombie is
that
so good.
scene with the vocal cords ripping. Ugh.
Yeah, that's the other thing you get watching them in order is the escalation of the gore and the violence. Because going
You
from
go
night to
from
day, like
you
holy
go
shit,
from chicken wings and chocolate sauce to, dear God, what did Tom Savini do? It looks
to
like he just went out and murdered someone.
to extras eating literal raw meat. You know about
Ugh.
that, right?
No.
Okay, so they shit, and this is pretty common actually with zombie stuff. At least back in the day, is they would have all this processed meat, like real meat on set that people would bite into and mixed in with a corn syrup or whatever for the effect. The problem is something went wrong with the transport, and all the meat went fucking bad. But they were stuck with what they had and couldn't afford new meat, so they just did it. So all those poor zombie extras had to hopefully not swallow, but bite into the disgusting, bad, rotten meat.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I don't think you could
This,
do that today.
this is why I'm not an actor. Mm-mm.
Yep, no. No, when people say like, "Oh man, it would be so fun to play like a zombie on The Walking Dead or something," I'm like, "No, thanks." That's a little out of my comfort zone. And all the makeup and false teeth and stuff, like, ugh, it's not my thing.
No, the first person to tell me to take a bite into rotten raw meat, mm-mm.
Nope.
I quit
John, he's just standing there
menacingly.
menacingly. Oh my god. This is when I was getting more cabin fever vibes, where we actually see the infected water and some of the bodies and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like cabin fever. But I do like where we start with Timothy Oliphant's character, where he's the sheriff, he's just trying to do his best, and he had to resort to shooting and killing that guy. And then for a couple scenes, we get just the whole town just giving him shit for that. It's a really good starting place for this character.
Guess that's why 70s filmmaking is better. I mean, if you're talking about the meat thing, if it comes down to actors being mistreated or quality of film, I'm gonna go for the better treatment of actors. Like, yeah, the movies back then were good, but it wasn't. It's not worth abusing your actors.
Well, and to be fair, in that situation, my understanding is those extras did know what they were in for and
But still,
could
you
have
shouldn't
backed
have
out.
to
But
potentially kill yourself, or at least wish you were
well, they
dead.
were troopers. And you
But
got to
and
do
I
what
don't
you
mean
got to
just
do.
that though.
You're
It's
using
just
a local
thinking of
resource.
like The Exorcist and The Shining, where those are
Yeah,
great
but
movies. But I would trade those for those actors not having to go through that experience.
right, there was so much shit we could let slide in the 70s that we don't today for good reason.
Yeah. Remember Maps? And not
Maps.
Google Maps, actual
This
Maps.
movie's already dated. Oh god.
I have that with Kick Ass every time when he goes on MySpace. That was a choice.
And like I said, this one does go to that more typical
Yeah.
movie trope. Like this is the Jaws mare. It's just like you're gonna kill the town if you do that. It's fine.
I really need to watch Justified. No, it's all good,
Sure.
Gareth. I just
I'll
I
take it.
know well, I mean, I wasn't sure if you were joking, but that I mean, it's all good. I was just saying, like, because I have seen that sentiment where it's like, oh, filmmaking was better in the '70s. We should go back to that. No,
There are certain qualities we should go
we
back
should stop paying actors hundreds of millions of dollars so that budgets aren't out of control. Then we can take more risks. No, I like the sheriff's got a little bit of a rebellious personality.
to. Mhm.
Oh, you won't let me turn off
And
the water? I'll do it myself.
yeah, and this does have a nice escalation to it when it starts to kick in of, oh no, we are on our own. There is
Mm-hmm.
something bigger going on, and we are fucked. And the guy playing his deputy, really good. This is a complicated part. I actually think he's very good in this movie.
Yeah, no, he's especially when he has to do the like struggling with his rage.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, that duo from the first one, it's like taking that and then really expanding on it and fleshing it out. Because we were talking about the first one, how by design it's very chaotic and you're jumping all over the place. This one picks a lane
Mhm.
with whose perspective we're following and kind of how we're learning this information. I think there are some trade offs to that, but I do think it works for what they're going for. But now they've realized like their Wi-Fi has been cut off. They have no
That's such a great shot,
contact.
him walking into
Yeah,
the city. And
it
this
looks right out
movie
of a
doesn't
Western.
look as bad as like when we talked about Repo with that 2010s cinematography.
No, or like Scream 4, which comes out
Yeah,
what a year after this with like that
with the
blown out
Vaseline.
the Vaseline and all the lens flares and stuff. This movie's not doing that. And here is our cameo from the first one. That is the daughter who goes nuts
Oh, okay.
and gets shot. Yeah, she's the one they got for a little cameo as this crazy
It's
lady as a
fun.
Pike. So that's kind of fun.
Nothing will beat the Dawn of the Dead cameos though.
Oh no, of course not.
But I really need to watch that show Justified because Timothy Olyphant plays a sheriff in that.
Yeah, I have friends who were really into it. That's definitely a type of show I would have been really into back in the day, and it just
It
slipped through the
missed me.
cracks. I just didn't get to it. Yeah, it missed me, and now it's like, ah, fuck, that's a lot of episodes though. I've got other stuff I need to
I
watch.
I
Justified's not
am
high
not
on my list.
typically a person that goes through and watches a movie just for a specific actor, but Timothy Olyphant is one of those that I would consider doing that.
He is very reliably good. I forget. Have you
I've
seen
not
any of the man?
The Mandalorian, the first two seasons.
Oh, okay. So you
So
have
I've
seen him.
seen.
Yeah, he has a recurring role. He's really good.
No,
as
I was so
Bill
excited when he
Marshall.
was cast. And no, I don't think I've ever seen anything where it was like, oh, he sucked. Like even if I don't love the
Yeah.
project, just something between what we do now in filmmaking compared to the '70s would probably be a good compromise. Well, that's what I
Yeah,
mean. Is just
exactly.
I think if you stopped paying actors $200 million to be in your movie, get the movie budgets under control, you could have that compromise where you could have more experimental filming. Like, there's no reason that the Black Widow movie should have cost upward of $200 million.
Right. And could have been directed by anybody when half the movies made in post and previs. That's the quality of the '70s. I think we're kind of getting back to, which is filmmaker driven movies, not just IP driven movies. '70s was just person makes a movie and a discussion. Like Dawn of the Dead's a perfect example where that's obviously it being a sequel helped with the financing, but that is still George Romero's vision. That is not a studio movie. As opposed to a lot of these, 2000s horror remakes where it's like, we got the name, let's get somebody to make it. And sometimes they turn out good. And I think Romero was attached to this as a producer. I don't know how directly involved he was, but at least his name's on it.
Yeah, I don't know because Wes Craven was also a producer on Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, and we all saw how that turned
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you can be a producer and they can still ignore all of your notes. This sequence is fun. This feels very Raimi, kind of Evil Dead. This gag with the saw is really funny. And
Yeah,
not at all, we don't do any stuff like this in the first movie, but here
no,
it's kind
what
of
I
fun.
think what sets this aside is this feels like even though because I don't feel like this was a corporate mandated like you must
Right.
remake the Crazies. It feels like somebody loved that movie and was like, yeah, I'll take a turn on that.
Yeah, that's like kind of the best and worst thing about it, where this does feel like it was made with love and with reverence to the original, but it also does have that 2000s horror movie remake wave feel where the vast majority of them have kind of a similar tone and style, and you can't there's not a distinct vision here, you know what I mean? Like you can't really tell who directed that, and that's kind of the more movies deep we get into this experiment we're doing with our series of doing commentaries on the original and the remake, I think the more apparent that will be. Of you look at all those originals like the Crazies, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Evil Dead, the Blob. Like these all have wildly different tones and styles, and then the remakes there is kind of a baseline tone and atmosphere we hit for the 2000s. Some are done better than others, but there is a bit more consistency in the feel that I think some people kind of got sick of, and why this part of why this trend kind of died out, and what Scream 4 I think was commenting
Jareth wasn't he in the first Hitman film? He was. I don't think he's bad in that movie. The movie sucks, but
on.
I never said every
he,
movie with him in it was good. I just said even with a bad movie, I've seen him and he's good.
he was probably better casting than Mark Wahlberg as Max Payne.
Yes, and I don't even know that source material.
But and like I said, as a remake though, I think this does succeed in kind of cherry picking elements from the first one. So it's familiar without being too derivative or shot for shot. But now you got the government coming in, rounding up all the people, and this feels very Last of Us just in terms of aesthetic. It's modern day, kind of the more militaristic scientists and soldiers, and stuff like it. It's like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm kind of watching The Last of Us prequel right now. That was a vibe I wasn't
Timothy
expecting.
Olyphant wouldn't have been the worst pick for Joel. I'm just saying.
Oh, it would have been good.
I like Pedro, but
Yeah, I like Pedro. I'm happy with what we got.
I would say I'm satisfied. They kind of softened Joel up a little bit in the show, but it's fine.
They do, but for me, not to its detriment. But that is a conversation for another time.
This does a good job of capturing the chaos of these like isolated zones.
Yeah, I kind of wish that one take went a little longer, just because it is a nice contrast to the first one, which has so many cuts. It is so frantic and quick with its editing. I kind of liked that shot of them just walking through the hallway, or just witnessing all these people getting torn apart and
Mhm.
separated. Or separating the infected from the non-infected, and it's pretty effective.
Mhm.
And like I said, this movie didn't get terrible reviews by any means. I think for the people who saw this movie and liked it, I think this is the point where it kind of hits like, oh, this is actually good. This isn't just schlock or gratuitous nonsense. We're actually trying to tell a real story here.
No,
I like this sequence.
this is about where the movie picks up for me. I like the build up, but this is where it's like, oh, now I'm really interested.
I like this POV a lot of her getting strolled down this hallway. She's like, "Oh my god, are they gonna requiem for a dream me? Is that where we're going? Please no, anything but that."
Jareth says I'm tired of seeing Pedro Pascal and everything.
I'm not there yet. I like him.
I don't know. I've never had that. I just I've never. I don't know. It's weird. Like, obviously that's fair if you're there. It's just he's just doing his job, man.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, I don't begrudge the guy for accepting roles, like, or acting. Like, yeah, get what you
If he
get.
was a bad actor, sure, but
I think he's got
he's not Jai
range.
Courtney.
No, Jai Courtney can do one thing, and it's Captain Boomerang. Make a Captain Boomerang prequel, please.
Have you seen
But I
that
do.
movie Pascal did with Nick Cage?
Oh, the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes.
I
Never
thought it was
gonna
pretty
remember that
funny.
title. I liked
I
it.
enjoyed it. Yeah, and like I said, I think he's got range. That Last of Us, Game of Thrones, it's some good variety. He doesn't just play the same character and everything.
Well, okay. To be fair, I'm 90% sure he only gets Last of Us because of the Mandalorian because they are the same character. You can't prove me right.
I mean, that's fair, but I also don't think that's like
I'm not
incorrect.
saying that's a bad thing. I just
But also, like he is doing a different,
it's just less
and with the man.
modulated.
Well, it's less modulated, but he's also doing an accent or a different accent than his own. The Mandalorian, he's going for a very stoic, kind of generic sounding voice, and also you never see his face, so
Except for those
that's a
times
big
when you
one.
do see his face.
Yeah, for like 2 episodes, so I'm not like, oh my god, I keep seeing Pedro Pascal's face and everything. Like, I don't know, he's wearing a helmet for most of that show. I'm not
No,
thinking
it's
about
fine. It's just funny. It's like, oh, who do we go to for gruff, distant
dad
father
parental
figure?
figure.
The Mandalorian.
Yeah. I do think some of the structure of this sequence is weird, where we do escalate it really quickly, where already, oh shit, like people are breaking out of the fences and getting gunned down, and it's turned super violent. But then we cut to this stuff, and it seems kind of chill. Like I do think this sequence is paced kind of weird and
There's
goes
a
by maybe a little.
there's a Stephen King novel that I would love to see have a proper adaptation, called Cell, where cell phones kind of turn people into these kind of creatures.
Oh no.
Um, but what the adaptation we did get is the shitty like John Cusack modern movie.
Oh, one of those.
My favorite example of just how like they didn't understand or didn't care is in the book, the main character's kind of sidekick or secondary character is his awkward there's this awkward gay guy that he meets in an airport or whatever, and they're kind of stuck together. Do you know who plays this character in the film?
Ooh.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, that movie. Perfect.
Yeah, that's great casting. And did they write this character like in the book where he's an awkward gay guy? No, it's just Samuel L. Jackson.
Is he better in that or Spiral?
Spiral, because that movie offended me slightly less.
Wow.
I also don't remember
Damn.
anything of Cell. No, Spiral just makes me laugh because every choice is wrong.
Mm. It is fascinating how the Saw franchise has run the gambit of every facet a franchise like that can go, except for remake.
Yeah.
Because Saw X was good and works, so we don't need to hit the remake button yet. We'll get there one day, but not yet.
I have the same thing with Chucky, where it's hit
Yep.
almost every facet except for the movie without the titular character.
Right. And that one did get a remake.
It's alright.
Uh, you probably didn't have this. For me, on my first viewing, I didn't realize initially this was Danielle Panabaker. Because I obviously knew or recognized her earlier, but in this scene, we haven't seen her in a while, and it's shot from such an awkward angle and perspective. I
No,
wasn't sure who this character was initially.
funnily enough, the first time I watched this, first couple of times, I also had that because it's so hard to see what's happening.
Right. It's also very darkly lit.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, oh, I could have used like an extra 5 minutes of build up and getting to know these characters because I'm like, wait, who is this? But now we're at the big scene. We're at the poster. He's got the pitchfork.
He does. And this is a nice
The
little tense scene.
Oh, I do like the sequence. This is a good time for me to show off my Blu-ray that I borrowed that was discussed during our Let Me In commentary of the Blu-ray double feature of the Crazies and Let Me In, a perfect double feature. You can't get a better
I'm
pairing
still
of
trying to
movies.
figure out what the common thread is there. They didn't even come out the same year.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, Let Me In is '08.
I
Is
thought it
it
was
not? 2010? Am
Because
I
was it
getting
Cloverfield? Oh wait,
am I getting those mixed up? Maybe
no,
it's the
I think those
Swedish.
both might have been 20.
No, maybe it's the Swedish version that came out in '08.
I think that's it. But yeah, it's. I mean, these are both Arrow Video, so sure. Let's just slap these together. That's what it is. It's just like, well, we got the rights to both of these movies, so yeah. Two for the price of one.
Why not?
Sure. Yeah, they're both remakes. That's a connection.
I would love to see what Matt Reeves does with this material.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's really funny. We talked about this during our commentary on the first one. There is like one shot of one of the big like chaotic scenes of people killing each other and in a panic where somebody grabs a pitchfork and just slams it into somebody's arm on the ground, and it's like one quick shot, and somebody took that and said, "Hey, that pitchfork gag, let's build a whole sequence around that." Like, all right, let's make it the poster because
Sure.
sure, it's cool, it works. You're fucked now. But yeah, but between this and the Friday the 13th remake, I am slowly making through my getting through my Daniel Panabaker horror movie filmography. I guess Piranha 3D Double D's next. Oh no.
Yeah, that movie's not great.
I
I like the
enjoyed the
first one.
first one. Yeah, I did too. I've never seen the second one, but everyone says it sucks.
No, the second one is not as good.
So this is where my first probably genuine flaw with the movie comes in is we really try to sell you on this connection between these two women, our main female characters, and I think we needed more than just one scene of dialogue with them up front because they really tried to lean into like I guess her seeing Daniel Panabaker like or in a very paternal way because she's very protective of her, and I guess they're very close. But I could use that relationship built up a little more with where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of works for me because the whole thing was she's pregnant, so she's kind
Yeah,
of projecting. It's fine.
yeah. It's also that issue that I
Spoilers:
mean they have a
Daniel Panabaker's gonna die soon.
yes. It's also that issue of we make a line about it how like she's a child, she's not even 18 yet, and I'm like that's probably not true. She's probably in her 20s by this point, so I'm not thinking that when I'm watching the movie.
How dare you, sir? She is clearly like 12.
Oh no, banging in the distance. That's never a good sign.
No, I
This
love
is not
shit
the
like
time or
this
place
because
for that.
they're clearly just doing that for the scene. Uh, but I just like to imagine what are we gonna do today? Let's punch a dumpster repeatedly until somebody comes along.
Jareth just said that in the chat that he agrees with me that a lot of these remakes have kind of a consistent tone that's missing from like the originals. He said that he likes the Friday the 13th remake, but it doesn't have the tone of the original movies, which I agree with. Like
Oh,
I still love that
I
movie.
agree with some of them. I don't agree with Friday. I think that is a perfect distillation of the first four, right down to the
Um,
shitty teenagers.
in terms of plot and material, I agree. I think it's a quality update, but I think more the vibe of the characters and the aesthetic is still very 2000s. I think
Aesthetic, sure, but I mean that's just
but it
with a remake. Like it's not going to look like an '80s film.
right. And again, like there is a charm to those older movies that I appreciate that you don't really because obviously the remake it's an actual big budget studio movie. You know, it doesn't have that low budget flair, but also like there is a quirkiness and a weirdness to those older movies with some of those characters, especially part four, that you don't get in the remake. The remake plays it pretty straight, which isn't a problem. I do love the remake, but I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
So here we get these crazy rednecks that have now gone full evil in this span of like a day and are going around hunting people. And then the movie will forget about them for like an hour, and then we need a climax. So that I was kind of on because I think the third act of this movie maybe goes on a little longer than it needs to, but we'll get there. But again, to your earlier point, though, this again does feel very streamlined and have that modern movie quality where our rednecks are kind of some of our main bad guys in the movie, but they're a coordinator. They are a coordinated team who has now just gone, fuck it, yeah, let's hunt people, cool. And then we'll, as we'll see by at the end, actually get infected and get worse and more violent. But that's the type of stuff that Romero is not really doing in the original movie. The violence in the original movie is much more chaotic and just everybody's out for themselves or giving up or just going, crazy. Here we have more of a like, okay, these are the movie bad guys
Yeah.
who are very one dimensional and are just
Yeah, you didn't
obstacle.
really need those. But
Yeah,
I've had a lot of
it's a nitpick. So,
I've had a lot of modern zombie stories or infected stories. You don't need a human villain. You have a built-in antagonist.
yeah, for me, it depends on the story.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
I think that's what I like the Snyder movie for so much is there are no human villains. The villains are just the zombies.
no, that's fair.
But on the flip side of
Okay,
that, something like 28 Days Later needs that military because that's part of what that movie is saying.
right. Oh yeah, and what their end goal ends up being like, ugh.
Ugh.
But yeah,
Fuck you,
seriously,
Christopher
Jared.
Eccleston.
The first time I watched that, I was like, "Is that Ray Fiennes? Who the fuck is that?" And now Ray Fiennes is in the new one. Are they brothers? I don't know.
I hope he
Should be.
goes around going, I can touch you, and awkwardly touching people's foreheads.
But seriously, Jared, if you're a fan of George Romero's The Crazies, watch 28 Days Later. Probably like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you remember this. This actually kind of pissed me off with our main love interest, Timothy Oliphant's wife, where in the previous scene, she's like, "Hey, I don't like your partner. I think he's sick," and he's like, "He's not sick. He's fine." She's like, "I don't know. I think he's sick." The very next scene, Daniel Panabaker is running off to her boyfriend who has a gun at them, and she's like, "It's her boyfriend. It's fine." It's like, but fuck you. It really pissed me off, and it's like, and
We
then but
love
she has this
inconsistencies, folks.
but she had this line, you probably forgot about it, where it's like, if it was me, you would do the same. It's like, you two are adults, you're married, this is a fucking high school boyfriend, give me a break. They've probably known each other for like 2 weeks. This guy is not worth risking your lives for, and then he's gonna die in like 10 seconds. So this whole sequence is kind of pointless.
Maybe you're the real monster all along.
I am. I don't know. I don't even think the sequence is bad or anything. I just think it's something you could have trimmed out. That's something that's just kind of clicked with me that separates this from the original as far as the kills are handled. Whenever we kill a character in this who's like shot by one of the government agents, it's not somebody we really know. Like that's not the stuff it's really interested in focusing on. This has a lot more. This is much more of a quote unquote zombie movie or an infected movie than the original is. That like in this case, when we're shooting this family, it's there for shock value and to have some of that Romero flavor, but
The
that's
flamethrower
they're
is
they're not characters
fucked.
we relate to. The flamethrower is awesome, which is another nice nod to the there's a couple flamethrower scenes in there too. And that's another good point, Sheriff. Like, say what you about Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. Those do have a very distinct voice and style. Those do not look like
Did
the
we put
Platinum
that on the
Tunes.
wheel?
I'm pretty sure we did.
Remind me to check when we spin it. I Yeah, because Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie is good. Fuck you.
Yeah. I don't hate that movie. It'll be a fun discussion. We need Noah on that
This
one though. We need
the second
all
one though,
perspectives.
that's not as good.
I'll get to it.
And by not as good, I mean it's almost unbearable to watch.
But this scene is another kind of homage to the original where we unmask somebody and question them, and it plays out differently, but it does have a similar flavor where for the first time we are humanizing the other, in this case the government, the agents, because this guy is just scared and he's just following orders. Like this scene's very evocative of the original film with the soldier guy who's just he's not evil, he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
I also like the way it plays out because I feel like in any other movie, because I feel like I've seen this a million times, when they let him go, you'd get they're over there, and then he gets shot and killed and everything goes to hell. This movie doesn't do that. He's actually true to his word. He doesn't rat these people out. Uh that was a pleasant surprise for me.
Are you saying that it subverted your expectations?
It did. And like I said, this doesn't have as strong of an anti-authority leaning that Romero's work does, just given that our protagonist in this one is a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
But you still get a bit of that thrown in there with the government and the soldiers and stuff. It's not entirely lacking in the commentary that Romero is going for. And like I said, at this point in the movie, we have kind of a similar lineup to our like core survivor group.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty close approximation of that. We've also found out with the exposition, similar to the other movie, that we're now past like, oh, just people who drank the infected water are infected. No, this is airborne now, which again makes it feel a lot more like Last of Us game than it does, like 28 days later, whatever, where it feels like, oh, we are really fucked. Like we're this is way worse than just, oh no, the infected person bites you and you become infected too. It's now this shit's airborne, so you're immune or you're not.
Yeah.
you're but there's good chances you're screwed.
No, in some ways that's more nihilistic than the original.
And like I said, if you're looking for a more conventional story and narrative, this is an improvement
Mhm.
over the original for sure. It's more streamlined, but without being dumbed down.
We love to see it, folks.
Mm. Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to mention up top was like this movie is trying to ride that line of being a very serious, scary movie with commentary and be a bit of a cautionary tale in the way the original is, and also being kind of a popcorn thrill ride, crowd pleasing type of horror movie. And I think it balances those two things pretty well. Not always, but I think it does a pretty good job at going about that. Even though the end of this movie does go very big.
That was the other thing. Just the ending in the theater blew my mind. I couldn't believe we went there.
Oh yeah, so I can totally buy that. It's just something you rarely see for these types of horror movies.
No, arguably
Uh,
the only one I could think of that goes there is Return of the Living Dead.
oh wow. Yeah. 'Cause you're talking about the nuke, right? Yeah. The other thing, the only other one I can think of is Alien versus Predator Requiem, but this is the good version of that.
Oh yeah, that does
I
have a
I was
nuke.
rem- I was reminded that movie watching this like, oh, this is kind of similar. We got a small town group of characters just trying to get out and escape the
But you
nuke
can
blast
actually
at the
see
end.
what's happening.
Yes.
I
Now
don't care what
this is
Austin says. That movie is incomprehensible.
oh god, it's so bad. This is though I wanted to bring up if this is an issue for you or not. Do you think this movie's too inconsistent with the infected people, being the rage, hyperactive infected you get in stuff like 28 Days Later and still being kind of human and having a degree of intelligence? Because here, these people clearly like are more intact, like they're doing coordinated sadistic shit with intent, and
Mm,
the mom can even talk. Like, is that a problem for you? I'm
for
just
for a
asking.
film narrative, probably. For me, no, because a virus will affect everyone differently.
And the movie did set up why these characters don't like him. They're not being evil just for the
I
sake of
love
being
his.
evil.
I love Timothy Oliphant's delivery. Look at me.
And that gag's a good one with the knife in his hand, and he's oh god, that's good stuff.
The only thing I could think of the first time I saw this is like, are you trying to get infected?
Okay, that was the other one. If I've got a list of 4 or 5 nitpicks, a lot. He has an open wound. It's a cool kill. I like this is a creative kill. Knife in his hand, stabbing her in the throat. It's awesome. That is a lot of infected blood going into his open wound, and it's never discussed after.
To
If
be
he's immune,
fair,
I guess that's fine.
I'm 90% sure at some point they discussed that he's immune.
I don't remember, or at
I
least
don't
maybe.
either. It's been a long time.
And he could be, so fair enough. I still question that none of these other characters bring it up, especially when they start turning on each other. That's kind of a missed opportunity. You think
Mhm.
that would come up of, look at what fact with your fucking hand, man. Like you're probably sick. We got to kill you. Like it missed opportunity for that to not come up. When they start arguing with each other. But I do like the sequence. And again, the actor playing the deputy doing a great job. He really sells this moment, and I love the ambiguity where you're not sure if he's literally infected or if he's just getting darker, if he's just kind of spiraling. and I know the wife character turns out to be right, it's still annoying when she's like, "He's evil, man. He's infected," but she also does some dumb shit like fucking hypocrite.
A character in a horror movie being a hypocrite? No.
Yeah, and again, it's weird that this has come up so much with Salem's Lot and all this other stuff we talked about recently, but this does capture that death of a small town really well. Where it's now been whittled down to like these four people.
This
So
version, if you told me it was written by Stephen King, I would believe you.
yeah, or yeah, like if this was pitched to you as, oh, this is based on a Stephen King story,
Yeah.
like that would track. So I think this is the scene you were talking about with Daniel Panabaker coughing, but it's played ambiguous. Like, is she sick? Is she not? Like, this is when the characters kind of start to turn on each other.
Yeah. You have to have that moment.
Yep.
Unless you're Romero. Romero didn't give a fuck. Yeah, I think this is coming up where Panabaker's out of the film.
Oh yeah, and we got the helicopter. Another reference to the first movie. The evil helicopter trying to shoot at them.
Bastard. Why are you torturing me like this?
Why? Also, this set piece is really fun and creative. In this car wash, for some reason, this is one of like the two things I knew about this movie going in. I feel like this was all over the marketing too, or at least I was somehow aware of it. Was
So
this
as a small child,
car
I
wash
was
set piece?
terrified of car washes. So this hits a little close to home.
Yeah, I don't remember having that as like an intense phobia, but I do remember it being, kind of a creepy thing when you're a kid.
I mean, I got over it quickly, but there was a couple
Yeah.
years there as a small child. I had to get out of the car before they would go. My parents could go into the car wash.
I think for me though, it was more specifically related to a piece of media. There was an episode of CSI about a serial killer, and there's one sequence in that episode where a lady is in a car, and in the middle of her car wash, the serial killer was hiding in the back of her van and starts crawling up and then like kills her from the behind. So like in the middle of the car wash, like blood starts spraying everywhere.
This is
It's
like just the
a
worst
really effective,
time to be in a car wash.
right? Also reminded me of Final Destination 4, because that's like one of the three good scenes in that movie. Is the car wash set piece is kind of fun. It's stupid, but it's kind of fun.
Close your windows, you idiots.
He's got to open it to start shooting. And then
I
the
love
car
that.
wash is going to
I
eat his
saw
butt.
movement. Everything is fucking moving.
Yeah, that's a good little bit of comedy.
I aim to one day be as stressed out as Timothy Olyphant in this movie.
But I will say, I do think Danielle Panabaker's death coming up. It's a little lame and kind of quick. I had questions.
No, I have that with both this and Friday. She just you blink and you miss it.
Right.
And it's kind of a similar situation in both where you're like, oh, she's going to be one of the main survivors. And then, oh, Never
It's like
mind.
nope. But maybe she survives Piranha Double T. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Okay, here it is. Boom, dead. Like, oh, okay.
Well, that's got to be
So what?
nod to the original, right? Because it's a hanging.
Yeah, good call. That's probably an homage. That's obviously a different character,
Yeah.
but I don't know. So an infected person like crawled in the car, wrapped a tube around her, and then she's like pulled out and killed instantly. And it's like the car isn't going that fast, and I don't know. I get the idea that her neck is snapped, but I just didn't buy the physics of it.
No, yeah, that doesn't make any
It
sense.
like the car is going at a medium pace, and I didn't see the machinery moving in a way that the tube would yank her back that quickly. I love this bit though, with the car getting blown up by the helicopter. That I didn't see coming. Because it's like, oh right, there was a helicopter after us, and it saw the car just gingerly come out of the car wash. I was like, all right, blow it up, and then the people in the helicopter think they're dead, so they just fly away. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But that scene also is kind of the main thing I was talking about, where I thought, oh, Daniel Panabaker's character, you could have built up a little more in the first act, because we really linger on our main lady kind of crying over her and being completely devastated. It's like, I don't know. I think that relationship could have been built up a little more.
And so being Final Destination Bloodline is good. I want my first one I get to see in the theater to be good.
I
I
hope
mean,
it's good too. We'll see.
that title doesn't inspire confidence.
Nope. That is a direct to video ass title if I ever heard one. I also
Literally,
think it's
that's a Hellraiser sequel title.
yeah. It also may have been sitting on a shelf for a year or two, because I feel like that movie was announced years ago and it's finally coming out. So I don't know. But it's got Brett Basinger in it. She's a good actress. She was in a Stargirl, so I'm looking forward to it for that. Hope she's good at it, but we'll see. Hopefully, it's better than Final Destination 4. That's the bar. Hopefully, it's better than that one.
I love that the standard should be here, but it's down here. What's happening?
Yeah. I
I
take what I can get.
I quote that video too much. I don't know if you remember that one, but it's one of the Marvel Mania videos, and they're talking about the Fantastic Four movies, and he's like, "The bar is down here, but the standard should be up here. What's happening?"
Oh god, and that was like, I don't know, 6 years ago. It's only gotten worse.
Has it?
I don't know.
I think Fan Four Stick had already happened at that point.
Yeah, but that was a failure on arrival.
But they're talking about just for Fantastic Four movies.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, now I get it. But yeah, now with the new MCU one, it's like the bar is just, well, hopefully it's better than all the other ones.
I mean,
That's
I do think that's kind of to their advantage. You just
yeah.
have to make something that's competent.
Okay. Right. Trixie.
They cast
And
that
like,
one guy that she cast for any movie for this role.
was he in Transformers? I don't know. He might as well have been. He just has that government vibe. Okay, so what he said was after 48 hours, you're either dead or you don't have it. So I don't think it's saying that they're literally immune. It's just they just don't have it, and they're gonna get it because they're kind of past the
Well, hold on. No, I think it's
initial
after
wave of it.
this. Maybe I
Okay,
could be. Uh, dude, just like rewatching this again, I'm loving just Timothy Olyphant in this movie. He's constantly stressed and angry.
Yep.
I said I
Can,
wanted to talk to him.
can we get a buddy cop movie with him and David Harbour, please? Can somebody write
Yes.
that?
Can they remake Lethal Weapon with him and David Harbour?
Oh no. Which which one do you put in blackface?
David Harbour.
No. Oh no. Maybe don't do that.
No, because I need Timothy Olyphant to play Mel Gibson's character.
He's a Timothy Elephant.
Timothy Olyphant. I need him to
Oh, like
play Mel Gibson's character. Can you imagine him doing that like weird like
he's great. Yeah. Like I said, this guy playing the deputy, he's really selling this turn. Because for a while, I wasn't sure if this is where we were gonna go, but again, this is taking that element of the first movie and doing more with it. This also gave me heavy Rick and Shane vibes from The Walking Dead. You know, that
which is funny
friendship
because that's
deteriorating.
before the show. And that is the one thing that the show arguably does better than the comic.
Oh, it's a big one that it does better than the comic. Yeah. So yeah, this would have been before that because that would have been 2011 or 2012. In my opinion, we'll cover more Walking Dead stuff in the future. There's a lot of things I think the show improves on from the comic, but it's give and take. There's a lot of shit they fuck up and a lot of stuff they improve on. It's not consistent.
I think it's more consistent in the beginning where it's like, oh, here's these ideas you
Yeah,
can expand on. And then at some
right,
point it's just like
right. But also, this is probably a hot take. Not that I think it gets bad, but I also think like the first half of that comic run is significantly stronger than the back half. Like I do think it
the
gets to a point where
comic
Kirkman's kind of
loses
spinning his
me.
wheels.
The comic loses me once you get to like Negan and all those communities. I like when it's just them on the run in the zombie world.
Hmm. Though I will say though there is a bit of a life interjected back into that once he introduces the Whisperers,
The
both in the
Whisperers are
comic and
cool.
the show. They're fucking cool in both the comic and the
And
show. That stuff,
you meet a Whisperer in the Telltale games.
yeah, that's cool. I heard about that.
We'll get back to that soon.
Yeah, so this scene is like the Rick and Shane scene from the show. It's like it's subverting it before that's even happened. Because you think where this is going is Timothy Oliphant's gonna fucking kill him, and then we kind of play it off as a joke, where he just needed a punch in the face, and it's like snap out of it, dude. Come on, like this ends on a surprisingly wholesome note with it. Like this relationship actually has a positive outcome.
I I,
There's a
I just
redemptive
want
quality.
Timothy Olyphant to growl at everybody for the rest of this movie because it's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, not complaining at all with what we got because I absolutely adore Andrew Lincoln, but I mean, he could have been Rick Grimes. Like that would have been good casting.
I kind of wish he would have been. Then we wouldn't have lost Rick.
Maybe
Probably.
that's hard to say. You know,
I know. I really like Andrew Lincoln in that role, but I also lose a lot of respect for an actor that signs on for a TV show and then I don't want to do this anymore.
no, I understood his reasoning. I mean, he signed up for 8 seasons and then he went into 9. He already did his exit at 9, and a big part of his reason was he didn't like going back and forth from London to
I mean,
America, and
I'm
he
not
wanted to.
saying that he had bad reasons. I'm just you're the lead of the TV show. Like
I just didn't lose respect for him. Like he just wanted to spend more time with his kids. Like that was
yeah,
his main motivator. So that was his main. It wasn't just he left it to do other things. He just kind of
I
needed some
forgot
time
about
back.
that. You're right.
Yeah. So that was a big factor.
No, that is much better than when Crystal Reed left Teen Wolf because she didn't want to play a teenager anymore.
It's because it kills the realism, man. Somebody had to
Then she
take a
went on to
stand.
be Sophia Falcone in Gotham.
I mean, that worked out because it was great.
Oh, is she? I haven't seen that season.
Oh wait, no, you said Gotham. I thought we were talking about Penguin. Never mind. I retract that. I keep forgetting that Sophia. I've never seen those episodes, so I keep forgetting that Sophia wasn't Gotham. So,
The one
who
that
knows?
broke my brain is Batista from Dexter is Maroney. I think it's
Oh,
Maroney. I don't know. A Spanish Maroney is a choice.
interesting. Um, but back to this movie. This is very similar to the first one, where we do this kind of self-sacrifice. The group separates again, and here we make it a bit more emotional. It's a little bigger. It's more of a Hollywood type self-sacrifice. It's good. It's well done. I think this actor really sells it. I'm a little mixed on which one I prefer because I think they're both well executed. Because in the original, you do get a much longer firefight. That's pretty cool, and then it ends in just a very blunt, realistic manner. This is more of a movie scene. Like the music's really dramatic, the lighting's big. It's not really a firefight, but it is. It's got like more emotion behind it. Then oh no, never mind. Getting shot sucks. I regret everything. And but like I said, he sells it. It's still a good death, and kind of a nice bit of irony, or a tragic irony to his death, where he had the scene earlier where the two people in the house were dead, and then he shoots them in the head multiple times, kind of sadistically, and then that's how he gets taken out. Nice bit of setup payoff.
Remember setup and payoff?
Yeah, we used to do those things.
We did.
And like I said, I do really like this movie. But if I'm gonna throw another nitpick at it, this is the part of the movie when I feel like, okay, we're kind of gearing up for the ending, and there's still like 25 more minutes left. I think this climax goes on a little longer than it needs to,
Yeah, it does.
especially now that we're down to just two people.
Yeah, this doesn't need to be 100 minutes. You could make this a 90-minute.
Yeah, I have that with both movies. That's one thing they're both consistent on. They're both like an hour 40, hour 45, and you could shave both down to 90 easily, especially the original. But earlier, though, we were talking about how the virus is handled, and I think the big thing that Walking Dead brings to the table that makes that kind of stand out is the idea of the virus being airborne and that revelation of all the characters being infected. Like, no, everyone in that universe who dies will then turn into a zombie.
Yeah.
And just that gut punch, and then how the characters deal with that and try to work around that when they try to rebuild their lives is really cool. And
You're
something
talking
that
about The
sets
Walking
it's
Dead, yeah.
The Walking Dead, yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
not
just
only
oh,
that,
you get bit
just
and you're a zombie. It's like no, they're all
it's
infected.
specifically not the bite. It's you die, you come back.
Right. Yeah, the twist on it is just the bite or scratch will cause an infection that will then kill you, and then you come back. So you're still fucked if you're bit.
Timothy Olyphant has come a long way from Scream 2's psycho killer
Yeah,
gig.
I do think he's fun in that movie.
I think
It's
he's
such a
great.
different role for
I
him.
think
Yeah.
he's way like he is the more interesting of the two killers in that movie.
Yeah, like plot
Even though he
wise,
is kind of just Stu again.
I mean, I do like I do like the other killer. I mean that's Andy's mom from Toy Story. Come on, that's kind of fun. So like plot wise, the other killer works better, but performance wise, Timothy Olyphant. And what makes Timothy Olyphant stand out from like every following Ghost face is he's actually threatening, and you actually believe that this is the guy who's been in the costume.
I don't
Because
know. Emma Roberts is pretty threatening.
I love how campy and over the top she is, so it totally works
That
for me.
scene where she's just beating the fuck
Yes,
out of herself.
that's that's one of my favorite scenes in like any horror movie ever. It's so good. Um,
That's
but
why I
yeah,
buy
with
her as a killer. Anyone willing to do that to themselves will kill you.
but like I said though, with Timothy Olyphant, like you said, like he's just discount Stu. Like he's but it is. I'm so torn because I like Scream 2 a lot, and I think both killers work. But the original twist they wrote would have been better.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you know who the killer was originally supposed to be, right? Before the leak.
I do not.
It was Sydney's roommate. She
Mm.
was gonna be the other killer working for the main ghost face, and it would have been a better twist. Even though Timothy Olyphant's great, so I'm very torn on it. Just Blackbird too. Like I'm really 50-50 on this extra climax because you do get some good gore and action coming up, but it also feels like you could skip all this to just them getting into the truck and having to outdrive the nuke, like because it's the only bit that really matters. I'm
Is
very
the
very
truck
conflicted about this
scene
sequence.
better or worse than the fridge scene from Indiana Jones?
It's better. It's better. I thought of that. Yeah, dude, I have done so many mental exercises growing up trying to fix the fridge scene, and I can't. It's just cut it all out. But but what I had in my head was you need Indy driving a vehicle out of the town, not just him sitting in a fridge and not getting blown into a million bits for some reason and getting launched 20,000 feet into the air. No, this does work better than that. And like I said, it also reminded me of AVP Requiem. Oh no. I don't know if I would like this better if it was just one of the hunter guys. It's just weird to me that they're both infected, but still like a coordinated team.
I mean, that's not that weird. That family was also kind of coordinated.
Yeah, but I question that there too. I don't know.
Robert, just consume product.
Don't think. I don't know. There's just something about the sequence that's like, this is a horror movie, and we haven't done like a scary sequence in a while, so we should probably do one more of those. And I don't know. It's fine. It's just it just feels like padding. It's also trying to recapture the pitchfork sequence, which was very simple and short, but I think a lot more effective. And this isn't the movie's fault, but just with my lighting setup while watching this, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble seeing what's going on. That's the problem. Is I'm not on the edge of my seat. I'm just kind of checked out.
No, I have this with some tension scenes like that's like I know you're trying to build tension, but like just get to the fucking point. Robert, the door locks.
The door locks. Ellie, the door locks. We just
Blonde
cut to
woman's
Tim. He's like
name I
freaking
don't
out.
know.
Yeah. No, I don't remember his. He's just Timothy Oliphant. It's maybe Russell. I don't know. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're really dragging this out.
Yeah. Again, the action here is pretty fun though.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Jareth. I still need to watch it, but he said that his first theatrical Saw movie was Saw X. So nice. You lucked out on
Mine
that one.
was three? Three or four.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, you were into those pretty early.
No, yeah, me and my dad went like every year up through Saw 7.
That's awesome.
And then by the time Jigsaw had come out, I just completely missed it.
I like this kill. It's just very quick. This headshot she gets with that's a cool bit. So were you? Because I do plan on going through more of those this year. This bit's kind of fun. That's some good action. Were you like just all in on like every Saw movie as they were coming out at the time, or even at the time where you're like, yeah, these are kind of hit or miss. I don't know.
Oh no, I
How did
loved
your
every one
fandom
of them.
compare then?
I've kind of like I think the only ones I actively dislike are 7 and 9. But
So 7, you'd say was your first like disappointment in real time.
no, that one came later. Because at the time I was like, oh, that was a cool like ending. But watching it at home, I was like, oh, this is kind of boring.
Oh, uh, that's
No,
unfortunate.
I very much if I go see a movie in theaters, I can just easily get swept up in like the moment. I walked out of Thor Ragnarok saying it was the best Thor movie.
Oh,
Then I
a
thought
lot of
about it for
people
a minute,
did.
and I was like, oh, I
Oh.
like that. But that's how I knew something was wrong because halfway through The Last Jedi, which I saw in theaters, I was like,
You're not liking it.
I'm not liking this. Mandy, I've seen the first Saw, still have to see the other ones.
I am in the
Yeah.
same boat. I have just seen the first movie. We covered it on the channel, but don't worry, I've got a bunch on Blu-ray. I'm looking forward to finally watching those movies. Very
Oh, I
excited
can't.
for X.
I will. I am so down to watch Saw 2 with you. That's my favorite.
And then Jareth said that Saw X is currently on Stars. Good to know. I have it on Blu-ray,
Stars.
but the folks who brought you Ash versus Evil Dead and other stuff.
And Let Me In, I believe.
Yeah.
Or no,
And
that
this
was the
movie.
Stars. That was Hammer.
Oh right, yeah, Hammers Let Me In.
You know, that explosion isn't the worst one I've ever seen.
This did not look as bad as I was expecting. Well, if
Do
you
you think
stare at it
this is
too
too
long, you'll
big
just.
for this kind of movie?
I kind of like it. You rarely get to see this in a zombie infected apocalyptic kind of movie. It kind of makes it stand out again for what the movie's going for. Earlier, I discussed how this is trying to straddle that line of having the commentary and the dark tone of the Romero film while also being more of a popcorn, entertaining crowd pleaser, and I think it straddles that line okay. I think this climax doesn't go. I think it's fine.
Very 2010s. We got to go bigger.
We got to go bigger. But I like the ticking clock, and it's an idea that is suggested in the Romero film. We just don't have the budget to pay it off or actually do it. Where we discuss, hey, if this really gets out of hand, we'll just nuke the town. Like that's because sure. So it is discussed in the Romero film. So I think it's cool that we get to actually go there in this version. I also think this concept is broad enough and timely enough that I think this actually could lend itself to another remake, especially post COVID and a lot of the crazy shit we've seen the last several years. I already think, oh, you
My
could
only
do another
worry
remake of
is
this.
you know who would get this? Fucking Blumhouse.
Blumhouse, yeah, that's the worst case scenario. I don't want that.
No, because it would have to
But
have some like important message while also just being a nonsensical
a
fuck.
like a haunted pool movie,
A nonsensical series of events that ultimately don't mean anything.
right? I understood that reference. Yeah, but again, I think with another remake of this, I think you could go either way. You could go
Give
back
it
to
to
the
Mike
more
Flanagan
Flanagan would be
or a
great.
broken record.
He would make it more dark and nihilistic, like the Romero film for sure. That could be cool. Or you could lean more
That
into the
can't be
satire.
healthy.
No, no, they should be blind. Stop staring at that. They're gonna die from radiation poisoning in 2 years.
So she lost the baby, right?
Undoubtedly. But also, one thing though that
Where
the
did they
Romero
get
film,
those clothes?
we saw him pack some of those earlier. Those are
Oh,
their
okay.
spare clothes. He took them from the store. But I think one thing that's kind of touched on the Romero film, but less in this one, is that classic zombie idea of, oh, the humans were scared than the zombies. But where you could even go further with that, especially post COVID, is no, the non-sick people are more fucking crazy and insane than the sick people. That's an angle I feel like you could lean more into, is just the chaos, the society crumbling, people freaking out and turning on each other. There's a lot you could explore there.
I would have cut that last drone shot.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it because the purpose of that drone shot is, oh, the government's still watching them. This is now going to continue into this other town. This is going to keep going, like the Romero film. So it's not a clean, happy Hollywood ending where, yeah, your hero survived. It's no, this is going to keep going. It's just, I
I
just
think
don't
you.
love
I
the
just
drone
you could
shots.
have communicated that in a more effective uh, way.
Like a Rise of the Planet of the Apes situation where there's like some other character we saw early on who gets out of the town, and then we have an epilogue where like this other character goes somewhere else and is clearly sick and like,
Or
oh
just
fuck, like
you
gonna
cut to
spread into
another
something
town and
again.
like it's happening again. It doesn't even
Right.
have to be somebody else from this town if you don't want it to be. It's just
Yeah, exactly. Which again, so both the Romero film and this one do end in kind of the same place where this isn't done. It's gonna spread and keep going. And now we have this kind of weird news bit that again is kind of Romero, where they're putting the spin on what happened. They're like, there was a big fire, and This chemical plant exploded. It totally wasn't a nuke. we it's fine. This isn't a cover up. So I don't know. I don't. It's interesting.
That is a pretty good film.
It is. Yeah, I think you would be more glowing about it, but we seem more on the same page. I do like it.
I mean, I like it more than the original. Mm.
That's where we differ. I like both movies a lot. For me and my sensibilities, I'm giving the edge to the original. I think okay. You know what the big thing this movie's missing for me, but I also don't really know how to integrate it well
A sex scene.
is well that of course, and all the stuff with the doctor working on the cure, and then what happens to him. That's classic Romero and really fucked up and dark. Like that shit sticks with me, and you don't really get any equivalency to that in this movie. That's the big thing. It's this version's kind of missing, but I like both. I like both a lot. I think the first one for me is just it's a little harsher. It's a little more impactful, but this is going more for fun and it succeeds. I like
Yeah, the original doesn't have Timothy Olyphant just running around screaming at people because he's stressed.
it. But this is where I do need to start writing these down and keeping track because
Just
our
make
lists are
it
starting to
fucking
dip.
letterboxed.
Nah, I'll get to it.
It would make your life so much easier.
That is objectively correct. Fuck you.
You fucking bastard. All right.
So, for you, where are you putting this with the remakes?
Okay, so I really like this movie. This is hard. But I'm it's number 4 out of 5. And that's just because the other ones are Let Me In, The Blob, and Evil Dead, which are all superior films.
I'm on. Okay, so on this, we're on the same page. It's hard because I do like
Yeah.
it, but it's better than Nightmare.
I think Nightmare is going to be consistently just in last place.
It's funny though, because for context though, it's like okay, so Nightmare the remake is here, and then those 4 movies are up here,
Yeah.
kind of fighting for those top 4 spots. There is a big chasm between those 2 movies. We gotta make that clear.
Okay, Halloween is on the list. Let me make sure I
Okay.
remember the Crazies. I did. All right. All right. If you're watching after the fact, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. We will be back soon with more commentaries. If you liked this content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and throwing us a thumbs up. Have a good night.